Today on Central Illinois on the Record, President Obama taking executive action on guns, what it means for buyers and sellers. Plus, how a new law in Illinois is helping law enforcement track down and prosecute rapists. And colleges across the country connecting with Illinois State, how the university is preparing to host an online viewing of the State of the Union address.
Now, from your local election headquarters, this is Central Illinois on the Record.
Welcome to Central Illinois on the Record. I'm Paul Cicchini. The state's still reeling from wicked weather before the new year, which brought major flooding to southern Illinois. Governor Rauner has been visiting towns in some of the affected counties. This is video from his stop in Olive Branch, a town that sits on the Mississippi. There were evacuations in many river towns and extensive damage people are only beginning to clean up. Several of them were part of a government program to either buy their homes that were damaged in a previous flood or to raise their homes so they sit at a higher level. That didn't happen for everyone, as promised.
Of course, I have flood insurance because it's mandatory.
Yeah.
And how that is going to affect what's going on. I mean, I shouldn't be in this situation right now because that should have been, it's almost 5 years and nothing's been done.
You elected as part of the buyout program?
Yes, I did.
However, one person says elevating her home wouldn't have kept it dry anyway.
They're not operating then in the best interests of public safety when they're not prepared for storms, and they're paid to do that.
Some leaders in the city of Peoria are calling for an investigation into how Ameren, Illinois responded to power outages after the storm. They say thousands of lives were in danger. Councilman Chuck Graham says Ameren wasn't prepared. He says it took too long for them to call extra crews, and Ameren didn't do enough to keep customers updated. Ameren says it sent emails and updates to City Council throughout the restoration process. If the council wants to launch an investigation, Ameren's open to it.
We welcome an opportunity to sit down with the city and with the Commerce Commission to talk about our plans and our efforts to restore progress.
Council members say they haven't yet talked to Ameren about the restoration process. They hope that discussion will happen sometime soon. But not everyone agrees. A mayor in Central Illinois is praising Ameren's response after the storms.
I just, think they did a yeoman's job again. I can't say enough for those guys out on the lines.
More than 10,000 Ameren customers in Washington lost power last week. Mayor Gary Menier says he has no complaints about the way it was handled. Switching gears, President Obama on Tuesday announces a series of executive actions designed to reduce gun violence, including expanding background checks for buyers. Meantime, Republicans, including House Speaker Paul Ryan, say the move is an abuse of power. Diane Gallagher is in Washington, D.C.
That's why we're here today. Not to debate the last mass shooting, but to do something to try to prevent the next one.
President Barack Obama detailing his multiple executive actions on gun control, encouraging states to report people who shouldn't be able to get guns, and expanding background checks for some private sales. Republicans on the campaign trail, though, have railed against the president's plan.
President Obama is once again going to abuse his power.
When I'm elected president, on my first day behind that desk, those orders are gone.
Obama's proposals to ramp up mental health care and add hundreds of FBI and ATF agents to better enforce current laws and focus on background checks, that will all require millions in funding, which must be secured by Congress. So surrounded by families and victims from mass shootings, the president made an emotional plea.
From every family who never imagined that their loved one would be taken from our lives by a bullet from a gun. Every time I think about those kids, it gets me mad.
In Washington, I'm Diane Gallagher.
According to the FBI, 2015 was a record year for gun background checks. Over 23 million were done. FBI background checks are done for all gun sales that go through a federally licensed dealer. December was the biggest month ever with over 3 million checks. It was the first month to surpass 3 million since the FBI started tracking background checks in 1998. It's also the month 2 terrorists shot and killed 14 people in San Bernardino. Still to come, state lawmakers help law enforcement. How a new law will also improve the chances of getting justice for victims of sexual assault. And for colleges across the country, ISU is the home of the State of the Union address. How Illinois State University is preparing for the big day. Lieutenant Governor Evelyn Sanguinetti is touring the state, touting a report on unfunded mandates and government consolidation. A bipartisan task force worked on the project for 11 months, delivering its results to Governor Rauner earlier this month. The 400-page report has suggestions for reforming government and, according to Sanguinetti, giving the people of Illinois more power over their tax dollars. What's next? Well, that's up to state lawmakers.
It will go to the General Assembly. We need to work with them. Understand that right now this has been a bipartisan group. A lot of the members are members of our task force. So will it be in the way of one bill, 27, 14? We don't know.
You can find the report on our website, ciproud.com. Good news and bad for anyone hoping for a tax refund from the state of Illinois. Anyone who deserves a refund, of course, will get it, but no money will be sent until March 1st. That doesn't have anything to do with the lack of a state budget, though. Instead, state revenue officials believe delaying the refunds helps prevent tax return fraud and identity theft. Electronic returns filed before March 1st should be issued within 2 to 3 weeks afterwards. Illinois could see another record year when it comes to spending on political campaigns, even without a governor on the ballot. Democrats have raised millions of dollars in the last 3 months. Some say it's an effort to combat the huge resources Republicans have after the election of Governor Rauner. Democrats have a slim majority in the House, and as Matt Porter explains, it looks like they'll have to spend millions to keep it.
The Democrats were very busy trying to get money into multiple committees before the end of a calendar year, election year.
Well, the Democrats spent the last 3 months of the year raising millions of dollars. Records show committees representing Democrats raised more than $9 million in the final quarter, more than half of the cash they had on hand in September.
They're trying to be in a position where they're not going to get outspent or outspent too dramatically.
While Republican committees have less than $10 million in cash on hand, the governor and the Turnaround Illinois committees have more than $21 million, making the total almost $30 million among the party and candidates.
The governor is going to have extraordinary control over how the money flows into legislative races, because most of the money is being raised in his political committees.
Both Democrat and Republican candidates have the ability to share the wealth in unlimited amounts through special party funds.
It was written so that it was restricting private money coming into the system, but once it got to a political party, then you could move it anywhere you wanted.
A situation likely to set another round of campaign records.
It seems likely that we're going to break records both for individual races and for the total amount of spending.
The election should feature more political action committees like Turnaround Illinois, which cannot coordinate with or donate to political candidates, but can raise and spend an unlimited amount of money on its own. Still to come, stepping up to stop human trafficking, how a new law gives victims a voice. But next, just a couple more days until ISU takes center stage during the State of the Union address, how the school became the hub for college campuses across the country.
You're watching Central Illinois on the Record.
Putting on a live show is never easy, but ISU's School of Communication has plenty of practice. But this week, ISU will be showcased on the national level. The university is serving as the hub for this year's 2016 State of the Union address. Our Lindsay Harrison has more on how they're getting ready.
Yeah, let's say 2 at a time.
With less than a week until this year's State of the Union address, faculty and staff at Illinois State University are hard at work, making sure the school is ready to host the American Democracy Project's National Watch Party next Tuesday. Nearly 300 universities will be tuned in to the live stream.
It's all about getting students engaged and making sure that students are paying attention to what's going on.
The live event will feature panels with analysis and discussions before and after the speech, as well as real-time social media interaction with thousands of students using Twitter to weigh in and ask questions.
Let's say, let's pick 3 big issues that we know will be discussed. Like gun control, obviously, will be out there.
But an event this big takes major organization and prep work.
We're working with rented equipment that we've never seen before, you know, and you got to figure out how to make it all work together.
It's a lot of computers, a lot of cameras, and a lot of computers talking with cameras.
Most of the students helping with the event aren't even on campus yet and will have to take a crash course on Monday.
Fortunately, we have the people, the know-how, the equipment, and the expertise to be able to host something like this.
They know something this big doesn't come without challenges, but organizers say it's a great opportunity to bring national attention to Central Illinois.
For us to again be able to showcase our talents, our technical prowess.
Our students are getting the chance to be able to produce something that's going to be seen nationwide. Any live show, you're going to have there'll be problems, things that fall through, but you make it the best as possible so that the folks at home don't know that that stuff didn't happen.
All right, joining me now to talk about the Illinois State University American Democracy Project Tweet Up for the State of the Union address from Illinois State University, Nate Carpenter with the School of Communication, Carl Palmer, political science professor. Thank you both first for being here, and thank you for taking some time out because I know it's crunch time. You're running out of time to do this, and a lot of work has gone into it. Can you talk about, first of all, how this came together? How did this come to Illinois State?
Certainly. Well, back at the end of November, we got a call from really the chair of the American Democracy Project. And we had worked with them before in the past, producing similar kinds of work. We had assisted with the Tweet Up last year and the year before. And when they called us, they began by saying, hey, you want to help again? And Steve Hunt, who's the executive director of the School of Communication, immediately said, oh, of course, we'd love to help. We'd love this partnership. And again, it's been really fruitful for us. And they dropped the bomb on us, essentially saying, and we want you to host the entire event this year. And we want you to be the national center and the national hub. And with that in mind, Steve Hunt and I looked at each other and said, why not? We can make that happen. We have the talent, we have the facilities, we have the expertise to make this thing work. And so we agreed there on the spot and began pulling people together for it.
So again, what can we expect during the State of the Union at ISU and what you're doing?
Well, in terms of the watch party, again, we're serving as the national hub for this, really a series of parties that will be held in campuses around the country. And what we are really is kind of the center of that. We're producing a live stream that will be broadcast to all these other universities. I think we've estimated between 200 to 300 may participate. We don't have those exact figures yet, but hopefully by the night of the event we will. And what we can expect during this event, first of all, there will be a series of questions that will be asked over this live stream. And these are coming in from faculty and students from around the country at participating universities. And these questions will go out on this live stream. And those other universities that are watching and participating, hopefully organizing their own watch parties, will have the chance to respond to these. And they'll be using an app that's called iCitizen that is a real-time polling app, and iCitizen is one of the close sponsors and participants for this event. And they'll answer questions such as, what are their opinions on gun control, or do they think Obama's doing a good job in office? And those polling questions will then be used to feed really a real-time tweet-up event as well when the speech itself gets going. And so prior to the speech, there will be commentary and expert analysis, kind of predicting what will happen during the speech itself. And I know Carl will be moderating much of that, and so he might be able to say a little bit more about what he'll be doing right there.
So that's the event, as Nate said, we've got this massive stream going on, trying to link together these universities across the country. And then, at ISU, we'll have a civic engagement fair leading into, so we've got a number of campus organizations as well as community organizations whose goal is to get students, get members of the community engaged in politics. We'll also be running a voter registration drive during the event. And this is all going to lead into the discussion prior to the State of the Union, where, as Nate said, we're going to try to have a set of panelists from both ISU as well as Heartland Community College and student representatives as well, to get a sense of their feelings about what they think Obama will be addressing, as well as what he should address, and what this means for not only the last year of his presidency, but also what this will mean for the 2016 election.
All right, well, stand by for a moment. We will be right back to talk more about the Tweet Up with ISU and the American Democracy Project for the State of the Union address. You're watching Central Illinois on the Record.
You're watching Central Illinois on the Record.
Welcome back. We're talking about the Illinois State University American Democracy Project Tweet Up for the State of the Union address, here with Nate Carpenter and Carl Palmer, both from ISU. And we were just talking about what we can expect in terms of when the president's on, but you're also doing the Tweet Up for the Republican response. So again, you kind of have to stretch it out, the time. It's not just like, okay, the president's done talking and now we can move on with the rest of the project.
Right, definitely. So one of the things that will be happening, first of all, during the speech itself is that, again, we're hosting a tweet up, and we're really trying to drive engagement, again, of all the participants. And there are a couple of ways that we'll be doing that. First, there will be a hashtag that all of the students and faculty in participating universities will be using to answer questions, to ask their own questions, and to just generally respond to what they're hearing. And so that may be in conjunction with what they're seeing in the iCitizen app. That may also be in conjunction with questions that we will pose. So we'll have a live ticker that'll be part of this live stream that they can see questions on. We'll be curating tweets as well. So if we see any good questions coming from the audience, and again from all these participating universities, we'll be able to post that on screen so that they can respond. And as soon as the president's speech ends, that's really when we go to action, because during this entire time, again, I'm spending my time as a representative of the Social Media Analytics Command Center, so I'm gathering all this data about their conversations, about their use of this hashtag.
So, Professor Palmer, obviously this is a very technology-heavy event, but it is the State of the Union, after all, which is a very politically heavy event. So what are your expectations going in, and what can people expect from kind of your side of the coin?
So looking at this, I mean, I've heard people describe Obama as, I mean, this is fourth quarter Obama. He is looking to spike the football as best he can, and basically not run out the clock of his presidency, but in the last year he's going to try to push as much of his agenda forward, as well as trying to help his party in the upcoming election. So I think what we're going to see in the speech is him trying to highlight many of his major accomplishments in the last year or so. So I would imagine one of the first things he'll talk about is the new job numbers, that they came out and we had large job growth. And so he'll try to highlight the major accomplishments of not only the recent term, but also just his entire presidency, and set the stage for his legacy. And so I think that we'll see a lot of agenda setting for the 2016 campaign.
All right, so very quickly, if people want to learn more about this before the State of the Union night, how can they do that?
There are a couple of places they can go. First, they can actually go to Illinois State University's website. There should be information right there about it. They can also search Google for the American Democracy Project State of the Union, and they'll find more information about the event in and of itself.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you very much. Carl Palmer, Nate Carpenter from Illinois State University. Again, tune in for the stream of the Illinois State University American Democracy Project tweet up for the State of the Union address. All right, still to come, a look at the new law that's looking to help clear a backlog of rape kits. But first, helping victims find their voice in the fight against human trafficking. Businesses in Illinois are stepping up to fight human trafficking. DCFS says hundreds of kids in the state become victims of sex crimes. A law that's now on the books requires displaying public awareness signs in high-risk areas. Those include truck stops, bus stations, even strip clubs.
We have different things and cards we pass out to different our girls, our employees, things to look for, things that I might not see and they see.
A new law will require some businesses to display signs that include the number of National Human Trafficking Hotline. Since 2011, the Department of Children and Family Services has investigated more than 600 allegations of child human trafficking. And that's not all. There's another trafficking law that took effect this year. It'll keep sex trafficking victims out of prison and get them help, protecting them from being charged with prostitution. More than 230 new laws taking effect on the 1st. Among them, one addressing the backlog of thousands of rape kits in our state. Some of them have gone years without being tested, hurting the case of some victims of sexual assault. As our Marvis Herring reports, this new law is here to help.
Some of these sexual assault cases, that sexual assault kit evidence is essential in the prosecution of that case.
Tazewell County State's Attorney Stu Umholtz says DNA evidence can be the key piece to the puzzle in a sexual assault case. But before January 1st of this year, that important puzzle piece could have easily been left out.
This law was passed as a result of some problems in the northern part of the state with not testing sexual assault kits for a long time, and they had thousands of these that were not tested.
Some sexual assault kits were not tested within the window of time to bring charges in a case, creating a window of opportunity for criminals to walk free.
I think there were cases that were not being prosecuted because the prosecutor didn't have the benefit of that evidence because the evidence had never been examined, the testing had never been done.
Many times a perpetrator can't be at all identified until that kit comes back.
Talking with Umholtz and Carol Myrna, Executive Director of the Center for Prevention of Abuse, I learned House Bill 369 will amend the criminal code from 2012. The statute of limitations used to begin when the crime was reported. It now won't start until after DNA testing is complete.
Can be up to 10, but it's typically 3 years for felonies. It's 18 months for misdemeanors. So if you've got a 2-year backlog, that 18-month time limit can oftentimes cancel out a case.
But both tell me this new law isn't a fix-all to the backlog burden.
Passing a law that extends the statute of limitations perhaps doesn't encourage that. And if you want to eliminate a backlog of testing, then you just simply need to provide more resources, more lab resources.
Now, I don't know how these backlogs occur because they're all very important, but then hopefully they'll understand how vital it is for them to move on these.
Myrna and State's Attorney Umholtz both say this will not have a major impact on Central Illinois, though, because local crime labs process these kits in a timely manner. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Central Illinois on the Record. Of course, you can stay in touch with us using social media. Connect with WMBD and me on Facebook and Twitter using the hashtag CIOTR. We'll see you next week.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of WMBD, WIZZ, or Nexstar Broadcasting Group.